Meghan did something that shocked the royal family, something so subtle, yet so controversial, that it triggered an explosive reaction from Prince William. Some say she was stepping into Princess Diana's shadow, while others believe she was deliberately pushing boundaries the palace could never forgive. Harry stayed silent at first, but then, when William crossed a line, the confrontation turned explosive. Behind closed doors, decades of tension, loyalty, and legacy collided in a way the public has never seen. By the end, it wasn't just about a video. It was about control, respect, and a royal family on the edge. You won't believe what happened next. Meghan has emerged as one of the most polarizing figures in recent royal history, a figure who inspires both admiration and outright hostility, sometimes simultaneously. Public opinion about her is deeply divided, with some seeing her as a trailblazer, challenging outdated norms, and others viewing her as deliberately provocative, stepping into spaces where she is perceived as overstepping boundaries. Among the many controversies swirling around her, one incident in particular has captured attention. The idea that Meghan may have, knowingly or not, aligned herself symbolically with Princess Diana. Some commentators speculate that she believed cosplaying or evoking Diana in her appearances and media projects might allow her to tap into the enduring affection and nostalgia that the public still harbors for the late princess. Diana, after all, remains an iconic figure whose memory resonates across generations, representing both glamour and compassion. To be associated with her is, in some ways, to inherit a kind of public goodwill. But in the palace, it is also a deeply sensitive matter. Inside the royal family, tensions have long simmered beneath the surface, subtle yet persistent, often overlooked by the media and the public alike. The dynamics among the brothers, between spouses, and with the extended institution have always been complicated, a delicate balance of tradition, expectation, and personal ambition. But even seasoned observers of palace life could not have predicted just how combustible these underlying tensions could become. In this case, the breaking point came suddenly, almost explosively, triggered by a seemingly small action with unexpectedly huge consequences. Prince William's reaction to Meghan's latest media move was immediate and intense. Any perceived association with Diana appeared to ignite a fury in him that was disproportionate to the act itself. To outsiders, this may have seemed extreme, but to palace insiders, it reflected years of accumulated frustration and the weight of protecting a legacy that William feels deeply about. Interestingly, it wasn't just Meghan's actions that fueled his anger. Prince Harry's response, or lack thereof, played an equally critical role. His silence, interpreted by William as passive complicity, seemed to allow what he viewed as a blatant act of disrespect to unfold unchecked. The combination of Meghan's perceived provocation and Harry's non-intervention created a volatile scenario, setting the stage for confrontation. The tension escalated quickly. Before anyone could intervene or mediate, William allegedly threatened to strip the brothers of their titles, an ultimatum that carried both symbolic and real weight. It was in this moment of peak intensity that Harry finally responded, breaking his restraint. Rather than capitulate, he dared William to follow through on the threat, warning that any further attacks on Meghan would provoke a response that could engulf the entire family. This dramatic exchange raises a deeper and more enduring question. Had Meghan truly crossed a line, or was William seizing an opportunity to assert authority over someone he has historically struggled to control? Observers suggest that Meghan likely perceives herself as exceptionally clever, independent, and capable of navigating the complex world of royalty with strategic finesse. But intelligence and ambition, even when well-intentioned, do not inoculate someone from criticism or from being perceived as provocative. In this case, what appeared to the public as a minor, innocuous act became a flashpoint precisely because of its symbolic resonance. The controversy traces back to a seemingly ordinary moment captured during Meghan's recent trip to Paris for Fashion Week. She documented her experiences with the Balenciaga show, street-style chaos, and the broader cultural excitement of the event, presenting herself in the way influencers often do, casual, polished, and immersed in her surroundings. For most viewers, this was typical social media coverage. However, one subtle detail transformed the footage into a public lightning rod. During a riverside walk captured in a vlog, Meghan's path aligned uncomfortably close to the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, the location forever associated with Princess Diana's tragic final moments. While Meghan never filmed the tunnel directly, and her intention did not appear to be performative in a look-at-me sense, the alignment was enough for viewers to recognize the significance of the location. Social media erupted almost immediately, with comment sections and threads filling with accusations that she was being insensitive, performative, or exploitative. What may have seemed to the average observer like an innocuous or artistic choice was interpreted by many as a deliberate invocation of Diana's memory for attention, a claim that has been leveled at Meghan repeatedly over the years. When the clip finally reached William's attention, his reaction was swift and severe. According to palace sources cited by journalist Rob Shooter, the response was immediate and explosive, confirming that this was the moment when tensions boiled over into a direct confrontation. William's anger, combined with the perceived complicity of Harry, ignited a sequence of events that would dominate the palace's internal dynamics and public discourse for weeks. What might have appeared as a simple social media misstep to outsiders was, in the context of the royal family's intricate relationships, a trigger for long-standing grievances, symbolic disputes, and questions of loyalty, respect, and legacy. This incident illustrates the precarious balance of modern royalty, where personal choices, media presence, and historical memory intersect in ways that can quickly become volatile. Meghan's actions, interpreted through the lens of public fascination, family dynamics, and historical sensitivity, catalyzed a confrontation that revealed the pressures, emotions, and conflicts that exist behind palace walls. In the end, the controversy was never just about a vlog, a location, or an aesthetic decision. It was about legacy, perceived respect, authority, and the inescapable shadow of one of the most beloved figures in modern history. Meghan's place in this ongoing narrative highlights both her polarizing role and the fragile, often combustible nature of familial and institutional dynamics within the royal family. Sources confirm that the moment Prince William saw the video, his reaction was immediate, visceral, and intense. So intense, in fact, that those present described him as going pale, almost white with anger. One insider characterized his response as if Meghan had violated sacred ground, treating it with the casual nonchalance of someone filming a travel vlog, turning a place of historical and emotional significance into a backdrop for personal expression. Another source emphasized how instantaneous the reaction was. "Get it taken down. All of it. Everywhere," he allegedly commanded. The words, though brief, carried the weight of years of accumulated tension and the authority of someone accustomed to having his expectations met without question. Staff who were in the room reported that William didn't even finish watching the clip before issuing orders. His instructions were precise and unyielding, and he reportedly described the footage as grotesque and unbelievable, convinced that Meghan knew exactly what she was doing and accusing her of exploiting Princess Diana's tragedy for attention, turning a moment of historical gravity into a personal spectacle. But William's fury wasn't confined to the video alone. Sources note that it extended far beyond a single social media post or vlog, tapping into a deeper and more enduring frustration. He was angry about Harry's life choices, about Meghan's presence in the royal sphere, and about the effortless attention they drew without the constraints that he and other family members were expected to observe. Comparisons to Diana, a shadow he has carried all his life, added fuel to the fire. In this context, the video acted as a spark that ignited a broader blaze of long-standing grievances. The tinder for this inferno had been accumulating for weeks, tracing back to the highly publicized and controversial Harper interview, which had already sent ripples of discontent throughout the palace. The British media had shredded the interview almost immediately, dismissing it as self-important, image-focused, and egotistical. Yet it wasn't merely what Meghan said that seemed to frustrate William, it was the manner in which she presented herself. According to palace insiders, what irritated William most profoundly was the visual narrative of Meghan's presence. She appeared on camera barefaced, walking the interviewer through her daily life, discussing her work, her children, her marriage, and her routines in a casual and seemingly effortless way. She even recreated certain iconic poses once associated with Princess Diana. Though framed publicly as raw, authentic, and intimate, to William it projected a casual wielding of influence and image that he viewed as disrespectful. What rankled him was the apparent contradiction. Here was a woman using the Duchess of Sussex title freely and casually, after publicly rejecting the very ties, traditions, and rules of the institution she had married into. It was, in William's eyes, not just a personal affront but a challenge to the decorum and hierarchy he and the family uphold. Insiders suggest that the final straw came during the interview's framing, when Meghan's own house manager casually introduced her as the Duchess of Sussex. To William, this seemingly minor gesture carried enormous symbolic weight. It was a demonstration of independence, almost a public declaration that Meghan could define her own terms for her role and her image, simultaneously rejecting the responsibilities and boundaries traditionally associated with her title. In his eyes, it was deliberate, provocative, and irreverent, a performance that, coupled with prior provocations, made it impossible to ignore. Taken together, the video, the interview, and the introduction by her house manager represented more than isolated incidents. For William, they were a cumulative pattern of what he perceived as intentional disregard for protocol, tradition, and the legacy of his mother. Each element seemed to him like a step into sacred territory he had always understood as deeply personal and historically weighted. What may have appeared innocuous or trivial to casual observers became, in the charged atmosphere of the palace, evidence of broader challenges to authority, respect, and familial hierarchy. Every glance, every gesture, every choice of framing in the media became amplified, symbolic, and, to William, threatening. This escalation highlights the broader tension inherent in modern royal life. Public figures navigating personal ambitions, media presence, and historical legacy in a world hyper-aware of both symbolism and perception. Meghan's actions, whether intentional provocations or mere personal expression, intersected with this complex web of sensitivities, triggering a response that was equal parts emotional, defensive, and historically informed. According to insiders, William's fury reflected a blend of personal protectiveness, emotional weight from decades of familial pressures, and the symbolic responsibility he feels for maintaining the integrity of Diana's memory. The intersection of these factors, coupled with Meghan's assertive independence and the uncontrollable nature of modern media, created a perfect storm. In the end, the episode underscores how small moments, a few seconds of footage, an offhand introduction, a casual pose, can reverberate through centuries-old traditions and contemporary expectations alike. Meghan, in asserting herself, found herself at the epicenter of an emotional, historical, and institutional flashpoint. William, in defending what he sees as both personal and familial boundaries, responded with intensity, revealing how personal emotion and institutional responsibility intertwine in the unique pressures of royal life. What might have seemed like a simple disagreement over a video clip became, in reality, a reflection of deep, ongoing tensions between tradition and modernity, personal agency and institutional expectation, and familial loyalty and public perception. Meghan seemed to have a knack for saying all the wrong things at exactly the wrong time, and insiders say her behavior often put staff in awkward, nearly impossible positions. On multiple occasions, she reportedly pressured aides or household staff to call her out or navigate situations in ways that highlighted the underlying tension between her and the institution. One recurring point of friction was a simple but essential reminder: Harry, not Meghan, was the royal. The subtle dynamics of rank and authority, normally navigated quietly behind palace doors, were being tested in ways that made staff uncomfortable, forcing them into positions where even minor decisions carried extraordinary weight. According to insiders, Meghan's resentment toward the institution only intensified this tension. She reportedly refused to participate in certain family duties or public engagements unless she received additional financial incentives, a stance that the palace viewed as transactional and undermining the traditional expectation of dutiful service. These disputes, minor in isolation, became magnified in the context of the ongoing public scrutiny, particularly as the highly publicized Harper interview continued to dominate commentary online. Every sentence she spoke, every casual gesture, was analyzed, dissected, and debated, creating a pressure cooker atmosphere within the palace. The situation escalated dramatically with the release of the trailer for Meghan's Netflix series, With Love, Meghan. In what seemed like a brief, intimate moment to most viewers, a fleeting few seconds of a soft kiss shared with Harry in their living room, the palace found new cause for alarm. While ordinary audiences may have seen nothing more than a tender domestic scene, palace insiders immediately interpreted it as staged, performative, and potentially manipulative. A calculated attempt to position Meghan and Harry as a couple endorsed, if not sanctioned, by Diana herself. Whispers circulated within palace corridors that Meghan was once again leaning into imagery and symbolism associated with Princess Diana, the same accusations that had dogged her for years. To William, who has long felt a profound personal responsibility toward his mother's legacy, this was not merely a passing irritation. It was another perceived intrusion into sacred territory, one that added to a mounting sense of frustration and betrayal. According to insiders, this moment proved to be the tipping point. Unlike previous conflicts, William did not rely on aides, mediated statements, or discreet palace channels to communicate his anger. This time, he went directly to Harry. People inside the palace have said that the tension was palpable the instant William picked up the phone. The atmosphere was charged, almost electric, as the two brothers confronted each other. Officials relaying William's version of the events reported that what began as a tense conversation escalated to explosive levels in mere seconds. William accused Harry of allowing Meghan to dismantle everything their mother had stood for, of choosing his wife over the family in ways that seemed, to him, reckless and disrespectful, and of silently endorsing actions that William perceived as violations of protocol and legacy. Harry did not respond meekly. According to insiders, his reaction was swift and uncompromising. Voices were reportedly raised, doors slammed, and echoes of heated words bounced down the palace hallways, a rare glimpse of raw emotion piercing the normally controlled environment. Then William delivered the line that, according to those present, shattered the room. "Control your wife, or I'll take your titles." The words were not simply a directive, they carried a weight of both authority and personal menace. For William, it was a statement meant to reassert order and remind Harry of the power the institution could wield. But Harry interpreted it differently. He heard not merely a warning about Meghan's behavior, but a direct threat aimed at himself, his marriage, and the family he had built. The words underscored the reach of the institution, the one area where he could not fully defend his personal autonomy, and they crystallized the stakes in a way that left no room for misunderstanding. In that instant, everything shifted. The dynamic between the brothers changed irreversibly, as a private tension spilled into a confrontation that insiders describe as almost biblical in its intensity. The stakes were no longer about a kiss, a series of photographs, or even a carefully curated public image. They were about legacy, loyalty, and the balance of power within a family constantly scrutinized by the world. For Harry, the confrontation reinforced the sense that loyalty to his wife was inseparable from loyalty to himself, and that defending Meghan was not optional. It was a necessity, even at the risk of confronting the institution itself. For William, it highlighted the enduring struggle to protect what he perceives as his mother's legacy, even if it meant clashing with his own brother in ways that could have far-reaching personal and public consequences. The incident also underscores the delicate, often volatile interplay between private family dynamics and public perception in the modern royal context. Every gesture, statement, or media appearance can ripple outward, taking on symbolic meaning far beyond its intent. The conflict over a seemingly small, domestic moment, a kiss and attempts to defend Meghan only seemed to make her a bigger target, and now the royal family has stopped pretending to maintain civility. Full-scale war is reportedly underway, all over alleged disrespect to Princess Diana. The palace is circling her, but the reality few say aloud is that this isn't about a bridge, a vlog, or an irritating interview. It's about William finally finding a reason to confront the one person he's never been able to control. Meghan felt the shift immediately. Once the palace began hinting at a Prince Andrew-style treatment, the energy changed. Doors closed, phones went unanswered, staff became mysteriously unavailable. The same cold freeze Diana once endured, only quieter, polished, dressed up in protocol. Meghan continues to move as if nothing has touched her, while William presents himself as the guardian of Diana's legacy rather than someone settling a personal score. Beneath it all, it's Harry who bears the chokehold, aware of how William transforms when humiliated. And the silence around Meghan is telling. In the palace, such quiet always comes right before someone is made to pay.